Welcome to Permission to Thrive. I'm your host, Suzi Lula. As a spiritual therapist for over 20 years, I have the honor and privilege of ushering women and mothers just like you on a journey from simply surviving to powerfully thriving. I also have the honor of raising our son, Will, who is now a young adult, with my longtime partner, Jamie, so I'm right there on the journey with you. Consider this your personal sanctuary, your space to meet your heart, embrace your messy, and come home to your most authentic, extraordinary self. My hope is that you leave resourced and inspired because you are here to shine. Welcome to Permission to Thrive. Welcome everyone to this week's episode of Permission to Thrive. And I am particularly excited because I have a very dear friend and soul psychology coach, Reverend Carlton Teabout, with me. You will get to know him more formally if you look in the show notes. But I want to introduce you to him from my heart to your heart. I'm very excited about introducing you to my wider audience. Carlton and I are really dear friends. We've been friends for a really long time. We both serve at the Agape International Spiritual Center under the direction of Michael Bernard Beckwith, who many of you know. I've had him on the podcast quite a few times. And among the many, 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 many things that I love about you, Reverend Carlton, and the many things that I wanted to share with this audience is your beaming giant heart. And when we first met, there was an opening. Reverend Carlton runs Agape University. He had served there for many years as a volunteer, unpaid. And when this opening came, I just knew you were the perfect individual for that position. So I consider myself to be a longtime fan of yours, a longtime supporter of yours, a big cheerleader of yours. Carlton and I went through ministerial school together. We served together. Carlton, you went through my soul psychology certification. So you are a soul psychology coach amongst many other things that you do. You're a spiritual therapist. And so we share things on many different levels. And in this particular episode, and why I really wanted to bring you on, we're going to talk about the power that we have in this quantum world of making ourselves new. And this happens to be at the beginning of the year. We can make ourselves new anytime, all the time. I really wanted, because I know that you have said in going through the soul psychology certification that you felt it was life-changing, that you're new. So welcome so much. We're going to be talking, everybody, today about the power that you have within you to make yourself new. Fran?
Yes. Yes. Thank you, Suzi. Yeah, making ourselves new. That's a moment by moment thing. One of my core beliefs is every moment is new. So every moment we have the opportunity to shift, to expand, and it goes in alignment with the beginner's mind. I love entering everything with that fresh, new approach. There's always the excitement of stepping into something new.
Yeah. Well, I love already what you said because I really love these words. You said excitement and beginner's mind. And it reminds me of childlike wonder and awe. And there's been so much research done about those who dedicate ourselves to living with a sense of wonder and awe. There have been so many longevity research papers done on the effect it has on our nervous system to live in a state of childlike wonder and awe, beginner's mind, excitement. And when I say your big, giant, open heart, you have qualities of that childlike wonder and awe. Like I'm thinking right now of different events and places we've gone to together and us like skipping down the street.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
kids,
Hand in hand.
you know?
Yeah.
So with that said, why don't you share anything that you feel would be relevant around this topic that might be of a personal nature to you. I happen to reference you going through soul psychology certification, how you feel like that made you new. It could be that, it could be something different, but just something personal so everyone gets to know you in the way that I know you.
Sure. Well, just immediately when you say the words wonder and awe, I guess I even know what you're talking about when you see that excitement in me because that's my core essence, being in wonder and awe. But it's such a powerful practice too, to just be present to wonder in all things, right? All activity, all life, all the ways in which we get to create. I mean, if you just pause for a moment and look everywhere around you and just even feel into your own body, there's such wonder. There's such wonder. But I guess for me, the most significant thing right now would be the fall and your wonderful sanctuary retreat.
Mm.
And, I had a huge healing. You know of it. Our listeners don't.
Share
But
with
there
them.
was yeah, there's a significant shift that took place in my life where I had an experience of just around my body and how my own perception of my body and what I think about my body and how I think I look and how I feel and in my aging and in my weight. There's a lot of, I'm just going to say, body shame and judgment that I've experienced up until October. And so what took place for that, I had a real healing. I was doing my own work, but in the course of the retreat, there was an exercise that you provided where we had to be present in the mirror.
Yes.
So are you remembering? You remember the when I walked into the room, there were all these mirrors set up along the walls of the room that we were going to be in for the retreat. And I immediately was like, oh, hell no. Right? We are not
You're
doing
like,
body work,
hells to the
not mirror
no.
work. I know. I know. And so, and you knew where I was at. You just were present with me. But again, I've been doing my own work and consciousness around how I am with myself
Mm.
and I will say that was new experience of just being present with myself and gentle, vulnerable, loving, compassionate with a part of me that took on a belief about myself even before I was able to really know anything, before I had words, I believe. So anyway, I was working with this and we go through the exercise. Your guidance for the beginning of this exercise was really no instructions, right? Just go up to the mirror. And so slowly I stepped, right, with all this like idea of what I was going to experience. But when I looked into the mirror, this is the biggest new moment I have had in really, I will say, in my life because I had some odd years of thinking a certain thing about myself. And when I looked into that mirror, it was not that. There was no judgment. There was no shame. There was actually, well, hello there. It was a very, very beautiful experience, but I was kind of in shock. So when I walked away, I was like, I never experienced this before. And you took us to that mirror, I think 6 times.
Yes.
And each time it got better. So that shame and the judgment is no longer present. I even try and look for it because it's habitual. It's a habitual pattern that I've had. It's not there any longer.
Mm.
It's not there. So the newness is really living from that place of there's a space that's open that I don't have that filling it anymore. So in this moment that's new without that there's a freedom, there's a space, there's an opportunity to create to what's also taking place is the next step from that is it's become natural to take care of myself in a particular way.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate so many things about what you've just shared. So, just to give everyone context who's listening, at this particular sanctuary retreat that you're speaking about, yes, I had mirrors lined up all around the perimeter of the room. And so, for everyone listening, just imagine you would go up in front of a full length mirror and you would stand in front of that mirror and take the space and the time to look into your own eyes and to begin to ask yourself, what is the relationship that I have created with this body? We call it a body temple. We are learning, and research is affirming that the body mind is not a connection. We say the body mind connection. The body is the mind is the body. It is one entity, body, mind, emotions. It is an entity, and we're in relationship with it. And so what you're saying is, you walked in, like I know I would have had I been a participant and seen all these mirrors and said hells to the no, because we are inundated culturally with so much about perfection with the body, aging with the body, even those who have physically what culture and society says is like the most perfect body. I know that I deal with those clients and students and friends every day, and everyone has something about the body. And so I appreciate so deeply that you're starting this conversation around the authenticity, the transparency that says you have experienced body shame. I have really experienced body shame. And then other people have shamed me if I have mentioned that I've had body shame, because they're like, oh, you're so small, you don't get to have body shame. So I've been shamed for having body shame. So I'm laughing, but I really deeply appreciate that you are out the gate being transparent about your prior relationship you've had with your body. And it's one of the many reasons I love you dearly, is because you are a very transparent individual. And so everyone listening, I hope that we can take this moment to drop down and just ask ourselves, okay, what is my relationship with my physical body? Is there physical shaming going on? If it isn't my body temple, might it be in my intimate relationship? Might it be my relationship with money? Might it be with my relationship with my child if I'm a parent? Where might I have in my past experienced shaming? And how might that be occupying a space inside of me that, if healed, might give me, to your point, now you're saying you have this newfound spaciousness inside. And in the spaciousness, what it sounds like bubbles up inside of you is, oh, and now I want to care for this body. Not because I'm shaming myself to get in shape or whatever, but because I am drawn to a new way of relating to me, hence a new you. So anything you want to say back, because that's very indicative of soul psychology and the way that we practice being in relationship with those parts of ourselves that have felt shamed, or the parts that society tells us don't go be present with.
Yes. So the process, I'm going to say the relationship expanded, the relationship with myself expanded around my body from that awareness, or the shame and judgment no longer being present. There was a lot of my own self appreciation, gentleness with the part of me that had been in that position for so long. And I want to say became small in the way that I held myself. And so that gentleness and tenderness after the realization was really key. And it was the perfect timing within the retreat. And then I was doing my own workshop, 62 days, more than a workshop, but doing that with really embodying the parts of me that were working through all of those years of shame and blame and all the things. So that really opened me up even more. So really just taking the time to integrate and to really be present with myself after the initial truth revelation is what I'll
Mm-hmm.
call it. Um,
Yeah, that's another thing that our society really implores us not to be gentle with ourselves and intimately connected with ourselves and soft with ourselves. And it's something that we practice often in soul care and soul psychology, is this idea to take these mental words of um, loving ourselves to a softening inside of ourselves. So, what you're sharing about being gentle with yourself and soft with yourself and compassionate with yourself. So, for everyone listening, what might that feel like? Because someone listening might be going, I have no idea what it might feel like. And I know I can speak for myself. In the past, I probably had no idea. I was so judgmental about my body and I was so shaming about my body that I don't know that I had an awareness of what a soft relationship with my body would be like. And I can translate that to my relationship with money back in the day, or my relationship with myself back in the day, or my business. The softness translates sometimes to many of us as a weakness, and it is exactly the opposite. So I appreciate you presencing that. And then how did that impact your journey?
Sure, there are more layers to this. I do want to speak to the softness and the vulnerability and the compassionate side, especially for a man
Yeah.
and a boy. There's so many times when, we're taught, don't be a crybaby, be a big boy, do all the things. And I was sensitive. I've been sensitive my whole life. And I'm also very strong and clear and confident. But the idea of being soft and loving and gentle and tender with yourself does have the appearance of weak, but I am here to tell you, I am here to tell you that my vulnerability
Mm-hmm.
is my strength. My vulnerability is when I open my heart and I am transparent and vulnerable first with myself. There is so much room that gets created. There is such an opportunity to love. And what I know more than anything is that our loving, when we love, it's a mighty force. That there's nothing that can penetrate that when you're truly present, vulnerable, honest, open, and with yourself. That love that shows up, there's nothing that can compare to it. So if there's not a real experience of working that way, it takes a minute. It takes a minute to be present with yourself, to be open with yourself enough to feel the feelings, feel all those places that are tender. I have a funny story, but I have a critical inner voice. And what I learned long ago is that that inner voice is really, really strong. And she has a name, so I call her, it's a her. and, but she has an energy that is really powerful. But what I had to do is create another voice that is loving, that is compassionate. And if you don't have that in your own mind, pull the famous voice. So mine is Maya Angelou, right? I have a Maya Angelou voice that goes, "Oh baby, it's okay.
Mm,
Got you right now. I got you right now." And then I learn to be that for myself. Learn to cultivate that voice for myself.
mm.
Then we get to start walking ourselves through all of those areas where sometimes the critical voice can take the lead. Um,
I love what you're saying so much because I work with clients all day who are telling me, I hear what you're saying, but I don't know how to apply it to my own self and find the softness. So the fact that you have a Maya Angelou that you are borrowing, I think is so brilliant. And it's reminding me in my own life. I've shared this many times on this podcast that when I was little, I really yearned and longed for a loving, nurturing, soft relationship with my own mom. My experience was more the harshness, but I really longed for the soft. And when I met my best friend's mom, this was easily 25 years ago, her mom, and she's from England. And I remember when I was getting to know her and she was getting to know me, I would walk into her kitchen and she'd say, "Oh, hi, darling." And it was the first time that I could ever remember an adult woman
mm,
calling me an endearment.
mm,
And I felt incredibly loved by hearing a word of endearment out of her voice. And that became
Mhm.
my inner Maya Angelou, as you are
Right.
saying. So I'm encouraging everyone listening, if you don't have your own reference point, reference, as Reverend Carlton is saying, reference someone, something, a feeling. It could be the feeling you have with your dog. It's the feeling that you're wanting to embody. And what does that feel like if you would then learn to apply it to your own self? And
Right.
now, whenever I hear myself talking to my son or any one of my students or clients, and those words of endearment, and words of endearment are not for everybody, but for me in particular, when I hear myself also using them to and for others, there's a tone that means so much to me. And so I definitely appreciate you sharing. I think that'd be very helpful for people listening.
Yeah, I think so when we talk about the feeling of it though, there is that part of me that remembers really being soft and gentle as a kid. I can actually right in this moment just feel my little boy self in the soft and gentle, kind little boy that I was.
Yeah.
And then the ways that we had to,
Toughen up.
the ways that we had good condition to toughen up.
And I really appreciate you reminding me because I wanted to reflect this back to you. And for everyone listening, I really appreciated earlier when you were talking about, especially you being a man,
Mhm.
and at one point you were and still have within you a little boy.
Yeah, yeah.
And so you said you've always been very sensitive. And I believe that every one of us on planet Earth is so very sensitive. And like you, so many of us got trained away from our own sensitivity through the different things that you're saying, especially for boys. Toughen up, don't cry, don't be a crybaby, don't be a pussy, toughen up, man up, all the different things. I've certainly heard my husband Jamie speak about this and how treacherous it is when you are a sensitive being, and
Mhm.
especially a sensitive boy. We could get a whole tangent on
Right.
this. Happen to be recording this before the holidays. It's right around the Brown University shooting, and typically the shootings are males, and we have no space for the sensitivity or the anger within our males. So that's a whole episode series that we should do. But what you're speaking of, probably every one of us listening to you in some way, shape, or form has gotten trained to distance ourselves from our own sensitivity because sensitivity is so connected to a sense of weakness in our culture, in our society. And so you said, my vulnerability is my superpower. My vulnerability is my strength. And it is such a paradox, so ironic. I'm hoping that everyone listening is trying that on for size. The more vulnerable that I'm able to be, the more powerful I find that I am. And that really does go back to your point about saying to that younger part of myself, it's okay to be vulnerable. In fact, I've got your back when you are vulnerable, and I will care for you and I will take care of you because I know that what each one of us on planet Earth is longing for is to be seen by another person, to be seen, to know that we matter, to know that somebody cares about us, to know that somebody has our back. And the world can be pretty bullying. But what we want is the intimacy and the connection. And so, as you're practicing that inside of yourself and you're telling us you had been also trained to man up or whatever was the bullying communication that you received, and now to say that you've gone through that portal of learning to be really soft with yourself, and that on the other side of that is your strength. That's a
Right.
recipe. That's a recipe for a new you.
Yeah, 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 for sure. I use it with my clients often, and I'm not sure where I heard it, but it might have been back in practitioner training. Strong in my loving, loving in my strength. To be
Mm,
strong in my loving and loving in my strength. And that's key for me in everything I participate in, because even with the sensitivity and even with all the ways in which bullying and all of the things I've experienced in my life, I know that I've also stood up in the most loving way
Hmm.
for myself and for others. But that bullying stopped there with me. And so much of what I see right now triggers a lot of those memories and a lot of the moments before I stood up. So I get to be with that part also, you know. But in hindsight, I can be so very loving with that part of me that was like, you got to stand up for this for yourself and really just be that spaciousness of love.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah,
And I know for myself, it's been a very big, life changing chapter when I decided also there will be no more inner bullying of
yeah,
myself. Because certainly, young men, women, you may have experienced bullying, or you may have experienced criticism or
yeah,
shaming or
yeah,
competition, comparison, whatever it is becomes internalized, and then we internalize it within ourselves, and then we experience that kind of inner bullying, inner criticism, inner judgment, inner comparison. And when I decided that is something that will take a practice, but I will be consistent in my endeavors, my intention to create that softness. And the inner bully within me needed so much love. It was the inner critic, the inner bully, the inner comparator, the inner judger in me that really needed so much loving kindness.
yeah.
So,
Yeah,
thank you.
and it's a continuous
Yeah.
practice. I mean, we're living life and we're creating and we're participating in all the things, and that the voice is still there. As much as we've been conditioned for so many years to believe a certain thing, and all the healing and revelation of truth and ways in which we get to lift ourselves up and experience something different, there's still that voice there, right? All of the parts of ourselves are still alive within us, and we get to be with them in all these different ways. But in particular, I just want to speak to that critical voice was pretty prevalent just this past weekend. And and so in the space that I made, talking about the space that I made from releasing
Mhm.
the shame and the judgment, there's space there. So there's room for more creativity, more things are flowing, all the activity is going on, and I'm saying yes to it. I'm saying yes to this. I'm creating this other thing, all this activity right around this time of year. And boom,
Mhm.
overwhelm. Boom, too much. I really wasn't paying as close of attention as I thought it was to my body, to all the parts of me. I'm aware of it, but my body let me know. My body let me know you can't do this.
Mhm.
And part of me was blaming myself. Oh, look, you're not paying attention to yourself. You know better. You should have taken better care of yourself.
Mhm.
All the old pointing finger judgment voices really condemning myself for doing the thing that I said yes to. So just a little backstory is that I had a busy weekend. I had a talk, a workshop, all planned up in the Bay Area, drove 5 hours to get there, all prepared, and in the middle of the night was not well, sick, couldn't function, couldn't participate. So I had to cancel. I don't cancel. I don't cancel. So I had to cancel. So there, right there, shame, right? Right there, you should have done something different. Back and forth, back and forth. But when I stopped and became so present with myself, when I became vulnerable with myself about all of the activity, it was very clear to me that one, the best thing to do first, I just wanted to go home. That was the big thing. And so I'm going home. I'm going home. I'm going to take care of myself. And on that 5 hour ride, I really got to be present with myself. I really got to listen to the part of myself that was shaming, the part of myself that was disappointed in myself. And then I also got to be really appreciative of the part of me that was taking care of myself,
Mm,
that was really listening and was compassionate about, of course, you wanted to do all the things.
mm,
And of course, it might have just been a little bit too much.
mm.
And everyone understands. And you were fully supported. Everyone stood up and took care of what they needed to take care of there. So I didn't let anyone down. They were actually inspired
Yes,
by my actions.
yes,
Yeah. So when we make the space, when it's available to us, we still always want to be present and mindful with ourselves on how we're best taking care of ourselves in any given moment, you know? So,
yeah. Yeah, what you're saying is so profound because, again, society will teach us not to take care of ourselves and to power through and to do something when we're not well. And then that turns into some kind of dis-ease, or because there is a cultural value system that says martyr yourself, put yourself last, don't take care of yourself. Taking care of yourself is selfish, and that's why I typically call it soul care, care of the soul, because your soul doesn't buy into any of that. Our physical self, we are trained to think that, oh, then I won't get the next opportunity or the next opportunity, and everything hinges on it's so linear and so false. And the soul actually is the part that does know, oh, caring for yourself is actually going to expand your vessel. And
yes,
the more we care for our souls, the more our vessel expands. And the more expansive the vessel is, the more of service we can be.
yes,
And so it's a paradox and it's an irony because, ironically, you canceling not only assisted your vessel to expand, and I know that, quote, business wise, professionally, whatever you want to call that level, things are just expanding for you so rapidly, so quickly, and it's amazing to witness. And I love seeing you are out there and being invited onto so many platforms, and you're in front of so many clients, and people are seeking you out because they feel this expanse that is happening in your consciousness, this new you. And it's ironic that caring for your soul is not only having you experience this vessel expansion, but also that it is a role model for all those around you. Like you said, I had a similar thing. I was speaking to a wisdom teacher friend of mine, millions of followers. Everybody knows this person. And I also was in a moment of caring for myself. So I was very reluctantly saying no to something I was invited to that I really wanted to go to. I want to go to, but I was saying no because I knew I needed to care for myself. And that individual said the same thing back to me. I so need to hear this. I so need to learn to
right,
take care of myself. I so, even to this day, criticize myself when I do take care of myself. And I have learned that by putting myself first, I am absolutely able to then care for so many others, be it my own family, be it my clients, my students, my business, my profession. Everything grows when you
mhm,
take that risk, seeming risk, against what culture tells you. So I
right,
admire you for that. Again, it goes back to what you started with, which is it's vulnerable to be sick,
right,
it's vulnerable to cancel, and by being vulnerable and tending to what you needed, there was your strength, and you
right,
ended up being a role model for individuals, and you're even more in demand because
yeah,
you were true to yourself, and people really are hungry for that. So that's a really beautiful example, and I'm glad you took care of yourself. And I think it is reflective that your professional life is, it's expanding through this practice of caring for your own self, your own soul.
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, it's beautiful. It's a
Yeah.
beautiful journey.
Yeah. As we kind of come full circle, if you took a moment and you thought, okay, what from this conversation would be important to you to leave everyone with? Is there anything that comes to you to share, either from your own journey, something that's meaningful that you would like to share?
Yeah, when you're talking about soul, right? And just so much your teaching are all based on, soul psychology. The big key for me is really creating that. I call it the sanctuary of the soul. And
Yes.
that's the inner world, my inner world. I have a beautiful inner world and I'm really visual and creative about it. So I like to have a space that is, and you can even decorate it if you want it. I know I'm doing this for here in
You
my class.
absolutely need to decorate it.
Right, exactly. Like you see your sanctuary back there. But to really have that go-to space that is safe, that you can be so very present with yourself, that all of the new you experiences can be held in this place, and nurtured, and really a space that you can just be so very present with. And for those who are listening who don't have that experience, there's a way to create that experience through imagination, through all sorts of different creative ideas. You want to really have that go-to place and create that safety within. And this is, a big part of your teaching. And I just deep bow to you, and how you've given this to so many, but most importantly me. And I just really wanted to say that part of it, because that's the place I go to immediately. That's the place where I went when I was kind of in the panic of being ill. That's the place where I go to when there is a new thought, or there is, some tension or some aggravation, or I see bullying in the world, or all those places. This is the place that we get to do. We call it our work, but this is a place where we get to be present with ourselves and vulnerable with ourselves. So I just wanted to mention that, the sanctuary of the soul.
I love that so much. It's reminding me of in the Bible where it says, go into your closet and pray in
Yeah.
secret. I love the idea of a sanctuary of the soul, that you have an inner place that you've even decorated, and especially that you've decorated. This is such a beautiful takeaway and encouragement for everyone listening to take some time and envision what would your sanctuary inwardly look like. What would it feel like if your heart was a safe space to be? And in your heart, every part of you, even the inner bully part of you, was welcomed into a soft, safe space. Because going back to what we were saying about bullying and our culture and boys, and they need this soft place to be, and my inner bully needs a soft, loving space to be. And what, with everyone listening, what does your inner sanctuary feel like? I know for me, every morning, first thing before I even open my eyes, last thing before I put my eyes closed in the evening, I am connecting with that part of myself in a very similar way, just reminding myself every part of you is
Mm-hmm.
loved. Every part of me, the messy parts, the insecure parts, the parts that are still trying to get it, and the shiny parts and the sparkly parts. We share a love of sparkles. I love that about you. I'm thinking of your sparkly shoes right now. And
Yeah.
where every part of me is welcome. The messy parts of me can be
Yes.
welcomed. And I
Yeah.
say it to myself every single morning, like all of you is welcomed in my heart. And
Yeah.
I love the idea of the sanctuary. You can decorate it, you can redecorate it.
Yeah. It's interesting because the workshop that I was going to do that I canceled was called "Make Room for Your Miracle, Creating Your Inner Sanctuary." So it was about that. It's like really being present with what are you holding in there? What are you willing to let go of or be present with in a new way? And how are you creating that inner space where you can hold all of that and invite the new, the miracle?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, that's just so beautiful. It is a practice, especially holding those messier, darker parts of us that we've been taught not to show to anyone, to
right.
just let them be safe inside of us. Well, I so appreciate all of our time together, but especially this. I've wanted to have you on the pod for a really long time. This is the first of many, many more conversations to be had between us. And for everyone listening, Carlton's website and where you can find him, all the things will be in the show notes. And I encourage you to reach out and connect with all things Carlton. You have your 21 days where every morning we receive in a newsletter and an email a quality for the day. You're so thoughtful about what you share around those qualities. It's very inspirational, also very authentic and real. And then you do have many programs from Make a Space for Your Miracle to
Right.
your 62 days. You have 10 days and 10 ways. So there's a lot for people to dive into your world. And I encourage everyone to dive into all things Carlton because you a sparkly, big hearted, loving, great friend, wonderful minister, as you all can hear now, wonderful spiritual therapist. If anybody's interested in working one on one, you're a
Mhm.
gold mine, a wealth of that presence. And so I'm deeply grateful. Here's to,
Thank you, Susie. Beautiful.
yeah,
Just my joy, and I thank you for all that you give to everyone, but especially to me.
I love that.
So beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. And for
Yeah,
everyone listening, give yourself permission to thrive this week and see you next week. So much
right on.
love. Thank you so much for listening. If there was something in this conversation that spoke to you, we'd so appreciate it if you would take the time to subscribe, leave a 5-star review, and share this episode with women and mothers you know, because you are here to thrive. See you next time.